Good Thursday morning and welcome to Panola Pride, the heartbeat of East Texas. I'm Jerry Hansen and our guest today is Mrs. LaGrone. And you're right, we're going to be talking about Panola County history today. And first of all, Ms. LaGrone, are there any announcements to be made?
None, except we're busy with people that we just want to come and see. And then we have a lot of people that are really working on their ancestry, and so it's a busy place every hour that it's open down there.
Very good.
And of course our work is going on the restoration or repair of the old offices. And it's mighty hot working on them, but these fellows are going to get it done eventually. And
that'll
we'll
give
spread
you
out. It'll give us more
a little
room.
more elbow room, will it
Right,
not?
sure will.
Well, we're going to talk today about a hero in Panola County.
Yes, a hero during the Civil War, and many people in this county know about him, but I thought we'd talk about him today, and this is Brigadier General Horace Randal. And the veterans, Sons of the Confederacy that's organized here about 3 years ago, chose to name their organization the Horace Randal chapter of Sons of the Confederacy. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about Horace Randal. He grew up over in the Old Center area, between Old Center and St. Augustine, back in there. And he went to West Point and graduated West Point as a young man. And a lot of Southern men had gone to West Point, more from the South, because they were from plantations that could send them, away to school. And he was a Texas appointee that year. And he graduated when he was 21 and was assigned to the frontier. That's what they did with him when they graduated. Excuse me, I have a little allergy this morning. And he was put on the frontier out to guard against the Indians and so on. But then, just as the quarrel between the North and South came up, why, he resigned his commission, and went to Virginia and joined as a private, a company there, and stayed for a few months until it was going to really break out. The war was, and he came back to Texas. And he became a leader and was the head of a company from this county and surrounding areas. And so many men from Panola County I have already found on his list that I thought we ought to talk about them. But first, to back up, he became a famous leader of war, and so they advanced him finally in the Battle of Mansfield, and we'll come back to that directly because that's near the end of the war. He was promoted to Brigadier General, and before they were able to make that presentation, he was killed in battle. So he was buried in Arkansas. That's where he was at Jenkins Ferry, near Jenkins Ferry. But his body was removed later and brought back to Marshall, which was his home. He married a Marshall girl, and they established a home in Marshall. And actually, the records show that he had reserved a plot in the old Marshall Cemetery, so that's where his grave is today. His Panola County background is well tied in with people that we know. He was the second child in a family of 8 children. His father, Leonard Randal, was a medical doctor, and they came into the St. Augustine area and on up toward Old Center in 1839, which is during the Texas Republic days, you see, just 3 years after the Battle of San Jacinto. And that's where he grew up. And his father, as I said, was a doctor and a very popular man, and later became representative for 3 counties to the legislature of Texas. And his mother was a Kyle. She was a sister to Dr. Kyle and to his brother, who is the ancestor of the Kyles we know, Grady Kyle, and all of them are descended from the same family. Dr. James Kyle set up his practice over there past the Woods community, and his brother then also came in and settled at that time, and Dr. Randal's wife was their sister. So this was all a neighborhood of relatives there. They came from Tennessee here, and he came, Horace, the one that became a hero, was 6 years old when they came to Texas. And he was assigned, as we said, when he graduated, to the frontier until action became evident between the North and South. And he was a Southerner, of course, and he resigned the United States commission and became a private. He was appointed then to the 28th Texas Cavalry, dismounted. And this, for somebody that's not hadn't been studying Civil War stories, that's confusing. They started out as a mounted cavalry, but his horses were killed and they couldn't replace them. Why, they put them on as foot soldiers and called them cavalry dismounted, and they had the marching to do just like the infantry did. And his action in the Civil War, of course, was exemplary. He just went right up the ladder. He was a wise leader and a planner of attack and so on. And from 1862, he served in Arkansas and Louisiana. He never went a great distance from his area. And he married Nanny Taylor in 1862, and as I said, they established a home in Marshall. And the next year they had a son, and that's his only child, his one son. And he was appointed Brigadier General by General E. Kirby Smith, who was the head of the Southern Army stationed at Shreveport area, see. And all of this action, promotion and so on, became evident as the Federals approached Mansfield. And of course the Battle of Mansfield, we've mentioned before, was the closest thing to us. It was what they did there that kept them from coming on into Texas, because they were headed this way, and they meant to take North Louisiana and East Texas. But at the Battle of Mansfield and the Battle of Pleasant Hill, they were turned back and never did win. Of course, they killed Emmanuel. There were the casualties were tremendous at Mansfield, but he proved to be a great leader, as we said, and he was a fierce fighter himself, and he led his men into one successful attack after another. And that battle we have talked about before at Mansfield. The Texas group here, everybody, the ones that were too old and everybody else, grabbed their horses and old blunderbuss guns and away they went. So they had volunteers galore, and they just drove them back. That's just the truth of the matter. And roads, see, this was through the woods and swamps and what have you, and the roads were narrow, and the Federals had come in with a lot of equipment, and they blockaded the roads till they couldn't get back with it. So they captured a lot of Federal equipment at Mansfield. Well, I was telling the man that is a chairman of the historical group at Mansfield the other day. He was over here, and I was telling him how much I had learned about that battle by going to the battleground there before the state got all their stuff. They had a pretty good library at Mansfield about that battle at the battleground. But there's not much there now, I understand. But I located some Civil War soldiers that I couldn't find otherwise in the papers in that museum. And it ought to have stayed in the vicinity because that was the safest way to find it. Now it's at the Capitol and buried with a lot of other stuff that you don't find. Anyway, records from the Battle of Mansfield were pretty well preserved at that time. And his bravery and excellent leadership, of course, made him go right up the ladder. And E. Kirby Smith was the head of all that, but General Taylor was the actual leader on the battlefield, and he recommended him for that post, and it didn't become effective till he was already dead. Anyway, they followed him through to Pleasant Hill, the next day. They retreated, and the soldiers of the Confederacy just followed them and had another battle and it was actually a draw, I guess you'd say. Casualties were high, but the Federals continued to retreat toward New Orleans. Now, in all of that, I want to sidetrack here a minute to say my interest in all of that back years ago when I was going into this in detail was responsible for my learning some things that nobody had found. One of my grandfather's brothers had disappeared, and nobody knew what became of him. This happened to a Minuan. They were killed somewhere, nobody knew where, and he was the youngest one in the family, a youngest boy in the family. It was 20 years old, and he just was off the face of the earth. Well, it so happened that he was one of the ones captured in the battle just before they hit Mansfield, and was carried to New Orleans, and New Orleans was held by the Federals. They had hospitals and prison camps and everything in New Orleans, and they kept trying to come up to the northern area, and this is when they kept fighting them back. Anyway, Horace Randal was the leader of Panola County men, and also Shelby and the general area around. And he was killed at Jenkins Ferry, and he was first buried near there and then was brought home for burial. Panola County soldiers, I found a lot of them, and I thought we might name some of them because people will make connection with the soldiers, and some of them may not know that they were in his company, 28th Texas Cavalry Dismounted. And here are the ones that I found. I found 20. Now that's pretty good to find the names of 20 in his company and know that they were from this very area. Colonel A.W. DeBerry. See, he became a leader himself and was later State Secretary of Texas. Cullen Barber, M.P. Porter, not Porter, Carter, M.P. Carter, W.F. Carter, E.R. Harris, Henry Hensley, J.C. Higgins, H.G. Hooker, Jess Hoskins, J.B. Lacey, Oliver LeGrand, J.M. Hoskins, James Kyle, Oliver Martindale, J.L. Matthews, Louis Midiot. See, these are all names of families that are still in the area. William Tell Pugh. This is the ancestor of Rosalie Edge. R. Powell, W.J. Rogers, John Sinclair, Josephus Smith, J.P. Taylor, Pinckney Taylor. Now, those Taylors are from the Bethany area. This many I found definitely from this county, and it was worth the search because some of those names I had not found in any other place. And I'm still trying to build as nearly a complete list of the men from this county that went to the Civil War as possible. Well, his heroism, of course, made him stand out when you really go into the leadership in the Civil War from this area. And so these men here, these young men, about 3 years ago, I think it was, when they decided to organize a local chapter of the Sons of the Confederacy, decided to name their organization in his honor. And so they meet every month, and they call themselves the Horace Randal chapter of the Sons of the Confederacy. And about 2 years ago, maybe not that long ago, the Sons of the Confederacy organizations in this area did a work day in the old cemetery at Marshall, and cleaned off the area around his grave and repaired the marker. Now, first some friends put a marker, which was usually done. You know, somebody would start a movement to let's put a marker at his grave. It must not ever be lost. And then later on, he was honored by the state of Texas, and they put an official Texas marker at his grave. Anyway, they cleaned that and cleaned the grave and had a ceremony there. And all of these area chapters of the Sons of the Confederacy became aware of his contribution to the Civil War. And so it behooves us to be alert to who our heroes are, and know when somebody's talking about them that he was one of the leaders when times were tough. I went to the Handbook of Texas, and they verified. Now, all of this research that I have done on him is a result of a Mrs. Let's see, her name is Downing. I'll come to it in a minute. Dorothy Downing Hardwick. Her name is Hardwick. She has done a study and shared it with us. And I wanted to back up her study, so I went to the Texas Handbook. Of course, he's in all of that because he's a Texas hero. And they verified just frankly everything she said. So he's a true hero. And if you hear you make announcements about the meeting of these men.
Correct.
And they honor him with the name of their organization.
Very good. We're right on time.
Right on time today.
You did. Have you ever taught school before?
Well, yes.
Right for the tardy bell. We thank you for bringing our program today, and this is quite interesting as we talk about a Confederate hero of Panola County. Ms. LaGrone has been our guest, and reminding everybody your regular meetings for the Panola County Historical and Genealogical Association.
First Mondays.
First
always,
Monday.
Yes.
So coming up, if you have interest, we invite you to come down and visit.
Well, come down and see what we have. We just surprise everybody. They come down and start looking and say, I didn't know you had this, I didn't know you had this. And we probably have something in the library on nearly every family you'll come up with.
Very good.
And it's growing all the time.
Very good. Tomorrow's guest is Panola County's High Sheriff, Jack Ellett. Until then, we hope that you have a great day.